a frontline tank unit ready at dawn for another full day's fighting heard instead of the ceasefire plan. For 17 days they had been holding the very south of the Israeli line, opposite the port of Suez, constantly in action and under shell fire. Now they were ordered from 6:52 local time this evening to hold their fire, and they were waiting to see, as their role in this sector was defensive, whether the Egyptians did the same. There was mixed reaction to the question, were the troops in favor of a ceasefire that would still leave the Egyptians in control of a large part of the canal's east bank. The Israelis in this sector had knocked out 60 Egyptian tanks, and indeed at the time of the ceasefire, the Egyptian force opposite them, estimated at 5,000 men, was in danger of being surrounded by the Israelis driving south on the west bank. Besides, the SAM missiles that had given the Egyptians a measure of air cover were being drawn like teeth from their captured West Bank positions. And Israelis were in no doubt. The Egyptians had agreed to a truce because they'd been forced to it. At the forward position this morning, the tank crews were praying, as they do every day unless there's a battle on, and among their prayers were some for peace. Did the superpowers agreement answer these? Not necessarily, for the Israelis know from hard experience that a peace and a ceasefire are not the same thing at all.
Israel should have agreed to the ceasefire?
Yes, of course. We want only peace. And if someone want a ceasefire, we must agree to it.
Now, what happens? You've still got the Egyptians on this side of the Suez Canal.
Yes, but we have the other side of the canal, and so two sides have side of the canal. Everyone has a side of the canal, and without the agreement of Israel, the canal will not be able to be open.
Well, I only think that Israel should agree, and should agree to give up anything in principle if she's assured of peace in the future, because we can't possibly go through any more wars like this every 6 or 10 years or so, losing so many people. And if we're assured of complete and utter peace, then I think she should accept the ceasefire. Otherwise, I think she should just carry on.
Well, if there is no ceasefire, do you think the Israeli troops should go on to Cairo and Damascus?
In the meanwhile, yes, because I reckon that afterwards they can always use it as a bargaining power to try and get secure and safe borders. That's the only reason, because I hardly think that we need either Damascus or Cairo.
וכל הזמן הזה להשיג את דובר צה"ל, לשאול אותו איך קרה שנהינו. מי האלוף? אוקיי, ג'נטלמן, let's finish the move. מה זאת אומרת? הוא ישב כעת על טלפונים.
Well, let's say that the situation is going better and better. I would say that we managed to take the initiative at the beginning of this week. Still didn't open a major offensive, but we managed to take the initiative. We managed to start to dictate the battle. We crossed the canal. We have a task force on the other side. We increased this task force, and we are creating the necessary conditions to open our major offensive. I believe that we shall do it in the near future. Thank you, gentlemen. Do you think the war will be over?
How far away is the decisive battle now? I wouldn't like to mention time, but it is coming.
What sort of battle will that be?
A mobile one, of course. The way of battle we like, and we prefer, instead of the static battle, with battles.
You've fought now several wars against the Egyptians. How do they...
All of them.
How does their fighting this time compare with before?
Changed. They are fighting better, more, I would say, the suicide form of battle. But the major change is the quantities. The masses and the losses are ready to sacrifice. This is thousands.
Is there much evidence of Russian influence over the way they're fighting?
No doubt about that. I don't know really by information, but I can understand from the Malachim. The movement of their answers.
How many men at the moment do you think they've got across the canal?
Most of the army.
So if you do beat them, it's going to be a hugely decisive victory, isn't it?
That is what we are trying to do.
Well, it's a very difficult thing. I like to put it down to a kind of mysticism that surrounds Israel. That if you want to make this your home, and this is what we've all decided, those of us that were born outside but felt that for certain mystical reasons we wanted to live here, or those people that live here, you can't stay outside while your friends and your brothers and your families are fighting, and then come back and live, as it were, on the laurels of what they've done with their bare hands. So you have to come back and cast your lot in with everybody else, so that in the future you'll have solved your conscience, as it were. I think it's a selfish attitude in a way. It's not that I'm coming to save the country. In a way, I'm coming for myself more than for Israel's sake or for the Jewish people's sake.
You couldn't very well keep on, though, if you didn't get hardened to it, could you?
Well, I think that's one of the defense mechanisms that the human mind has, that it hardens oneself. I mean, I came from clean clothes and clean face to dirty clothes and a dirty face. I came from the luxury of home to the tank. But if I didn't adapt to it, then obviously, things just wouldn't work the way they do. And I think that it's the team that adapts fastest is the team that is most successful.
משא ומתן בין הצדדים הנוגעים בדבר בחסות מתאימה. רדיו קהיר הודיע שהנשיא סאדאת הורה לכוחות הצבא המצרי לקיים את החלטת מועצת הביטחון הקוראת להפסיק את האש דקות מעטות לפני השעה 7 הערב.
Would you think this ceasefire will work for the time being?
I think that the ceasefire and this condition that nobody succeeds will not bring the peace.
You didn't look very happy when you heard that news. Why?
Well, I'm not happy. First, because of the losses. Too many losses, too many wounded, too many dead. And second, I think that the Egyptians have not learned the lesson that peace can be achieved only in one way. That's sitting down at the table and talking, not by shooting, not by firing, not by wars. Wars don't solve problems, just make more.
Do you agree with your friend that this ceasefire might work in the short term?
No, I don't agree, because the Egyptians think that they succeeded in this war. They think that they placed some few hundreds of soldiers and tanks in our bank of the canal, then they think that this is a victory for them. And when the Arabs think that they have won or they have a big victory, this encourages them. And the next thing you'll know is that in a year or two, we'll have another war and more casualties.